Hey YouTube, UK Lockpicker back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be showing you how I make my lockpicks. I normally use Eclipse hacksaw blades, that's the manufacturer, and they really do last up. And there's a picker by the name of Wad A2C, I think his name is, he's killers for getting that wrong. But he's still got a pick of mine that I made roughly 10 years ago for him, and he's on about having me make some more for him. So it's a different type of material this is, it's feeler gauge and it's 1/2 mil thick. I took the advice of Daz Evers, a brilliant pick maker. He was happy to send us an email with some information on there, and the information he gave us I shall follow. So feeler gauge it is. I'll only be using a cheap bench grinder and a cup of water and some sandpaper, and there's a little trick at the end I'll show you to get these looking like chrome. Perfect mirror finish, so stay tuned. All I'm doing is roughing the actual pick out. I freehand all of my picks unless I'm going to do something funky like a bow guitar or a DeForest pick, but I'm just doing hooks and I like to freehand them. So all I do is on the rough side of the grinder, that's the smooth side for later, the rough side, just go in and just backwards and forwards and keep on cooling it in the water, otherwise it'll become very soft metal or very brittle metal. Carry on going through just like that until you get near enough the roughed out pick. So see you in a minute. So after a bit of grinding, you'll have your pick profile that you want to have, and once you're happy with that, we'll now move on to sanding. Let's show you how to get a nice mirror finish on that before we put the handles on. So if you followed me video along from the beginning, you would have seen that we used feeler stock. We grinded this down on a grinding stone or a grinding wheel. I freehanded this, but I'm not saying that you should. I used to work with steel, I used to be a welder, so I'm pretty confident with the grinding process. But you can get loads of different stencils on the internet. I'll put a link below of where you can get them. So all you do is print them out, transfer them onto a piece of stock, feeler stock or whatever stock you're having. You can spray it with blue ink, you can paint it, you can scribe around it, anything, as long as you get the shape onto the piece of steel and you grind it down to this stage. Once you're at this stage, there's a few different ways you can do it. You can either do a Bosnian Bill's way, where he puts a piece of sandpaper on here, folded, and then you flip the book over, and then you put the pick in and out, in and out, in and out, which is perfectly fine, and it definitely works. But what I like to do first is, I got these files ages ago, and I've still got them. It's snapped in half, but there's basically 4 different grades all the way around, so from coarse to really, really fine. So what I like to do is just hold it, pick up one side, get the not so rough edge, and then just give it a once over. This hasn't been done yet, but in the next part of the video you'll see it done. Basically keep all of this end, rub it all over, flip it on its edge, take all of the machining marks off, anything like that, and then we'll get to the next stage. So the next time you see this pick, I'll have already went over it with this very fine side of the file, and let's see what we'll come up with. Back in a minute. What I've did is I just went over it with the very fine side with it flat on the piece of MDF. It's best to have a piece of board down or a piece of glass, old glass or whatever, just for the flat surface. And I basically just rubbed it up and down, up and down, up and down about, I don't know, 35 times, maybe 40 times on each side. So you get an idea of how shiny you can get it just off doing that. Now this part of the pick is perfectly fine the way it is, because that's going to have an epoxy glue on it. I will leave a link for the glue underneath, which I'm going to use for this tutorial. So the next stage is to get the tip. See how it's got very fine scratches in it? I've got another little thing that I use. It's a polishing compound, but it comes in a wax. Off eBay again, cheap as chips. That's the stuff. Green polishing compound. You can get different grits, but I use this one, and it's perfect because once you start picking the lock anyway, it's just going to get scratched up. So this is just a nice finish to give to someone for them first receiving the pick. You want it looking shiny, you want it looking new, and this is the perfect way. And the way I do it is, take a couple of sheets up, you can see where I've already did it. Apply it onto one side, apply the mirror copy onto the other side, put the pick in, slam the book down, hard pressure, and then all you do is, your pick will already be inside there, and all you do is you just give it some whoosh, in and out, about 50 times. It'll come out looking chromed. I'll show you in a second. So, as you can see, the tip is looking pretty much like a mirror finish. As shiny as you need it, because like I say, once you start picking with these, they're just going to scratch. But that there is a finished tip end, and what you want to do before you put the epoxy on the handles and onto the pick is just tape up, just offer up your handles to where you think it's going to end, where you're happy with, and then tape the rest. And then after you've took the tape off and it's been glued up and it's sanded, this will be brand new still. Now, I don't finish my handles. I shape them so they fit, and then I take them off, I put them together, which I'll show you, put a little bit of tape on, and I sand everything down, and then the final sand gets done once I've fitted the handles and they've been epoxied. The only bit I do to finish, so the handles to its finish point, is round this section here, and the rest of it can be sanded after. So I'm not doing anything fancy with this pick. It's going to be a nice straightforward strong pick. What you'll be left with is 2 pieces of handle material, exactly the same size, or shape, or as close as. You tape it with masking tape, the flat bits, and then you shape them both together so then they're the same. Then all you do is you grab this Gorilla Glue. It doesn't have to be a Gorilla epoxy, it can be any epoxy. I'm not affiliated in this glue any way, shape or form. You put some on that one, and you put some on the relevant side of this, you flip that over onto that one, and then you put glue on the other side of this one and the right side of this one and sit it on top. So basically you'd glue this side of the pick and that side of the pick and place it on top, and then you put glue on there and glue on the relevant side of this, which would be that side, and place that on top. And that's, you only glue it after you've sanded it down, you're happy with the shape. And then once you're happy with the shape, you just put these in a couple of, I use washing line pegs just until it starts to go off, get it in, get the position of it exactly right so it runs nice, and then let it go off, and then it's final sand, and then it's dressed with or painted with polyurethane yacht varnish. 3 coats sand in between. If you followed along in this quick tutorial, you will have something that looks like this. It just needs a final sand and a little bit of TLC to get it up and running. But this one's for you, Daz Evers, for sending us that email on what stock to use, mate. So if you like this tutorial and you want to see more, please subscribe and leave your comments in the box. I understand there's more than one way to skin a cat, and this is only one way to make a pick.